He fired me in front of the entire leadership team. His voice, sharp, rehearsed, smug. "Pack your things. You have 1 minute to clean up." Laughter scattered through the room, some forced, some nervous. He savored it. My humiliation. I didn't flinch. I didn't beg. I simply looked at him, nodded once, and said, "Thank you." Then I turned. My chair scraped the floor louder than his voice ever could. And that was when 12 engineers, my team, rose one after another, quiet as shadows, and followed me out. Their silence burned louder than his mockery. I didn't need to look back to know his smirk hadn't faded. Not yet. He thought it was a victory. He thought it ended there. But I had been preparing for this moment long before he opened his arrogant mouth. I met him 3 years ago, when he was still pretending to be a visionary. He had charm then, the kind that masks rot. He convinced me to leave a stable job to build an empire with him. He said, "You and I will change everything. Just trust me." I trusted. I built his product. I assembled the brightest engineers I knew, convinced them to leave safe salaries for a dream. Together, we carried his hollow promises on our backs. And he? Nothing. At first I dismissed the signs, the way he claimed credit for my designs, the way he silenced me in meetings, the way investors only heard his voice. But betrayal doesn't come all at once. It drips. It stains slowly until you look down and realize your hands are covered in it. The final proof came in an email, accidentally forwarded. A note to the board. Replace him before product launch. He's a cost, not a partner. That was the moment my heartbeat slowed, not quickened. That was the moment I stopped being loyal and started being deliberate. I didn't argue, I didn't confront, I planned. I had been the architect of his empire. Every patent, every line of code, every hiring decision. What he didn't realize was that I'd also been the architect of the foundation, the contracts, the intellectual property, the paper trail. He thought I was just an engineer. He never realized I studied law before I ever touched a keyboard. So I waited. I documented. Every late payment to vendors, every falsified report to investors, every hostile message he sent to staff. Piece by piece, I built a case that wasn't just strong, it was undeniable. I trained my team quietly, cross-skilling them, ensuring loyalty wasn't tied to him, but to the work itself. They followed me not because I asked, but because they saw the truth. They saw who was building and who was leeching. I told no one what I was planning, not even them. When he fired me, he thought he was cutting off the head of resistance. What he didn't see was that I had already cut the veins feeding his company. The patents? Filed in my name. The code? Hosted on servers he didn't control. The engineers? Bound by contracts that tied them to the project, not the corporation. The investors? Waiting on audited reports that I had quietly amended, exposing discrepancies he signed. I walked out that day not empty-handed, but holding everything that actually mattered. He laughed as I left. He always laughed too loudly, like a man convincing himself of his own power. But his laughter died when the legal director stood, pale, clutching a folder I had slipped him the week before. "Call a lawyer," the man whispered. "Now." The room shifted. Leaders who had once smiled at his jokes now avoided his eyes. He barked orders, but no one moved. Power had drained out of him faster than he realized. Meanwhile, I was already in the elevator. 12 silent engineers at my back. None of us spoke. We didn't need to. By the time the doors closed, the first notification buzzed on my phone. An investor withdrawing funds. Then another, and another. One by one, his pillars crumbled. He fired me publicly, believing humiliation was the worst he could do to me. He was wrong. Humiliation fades. Legacy doesn't. Within a month, his company was gutted. The board removed him, citing misconduct and breach of fiduciary duty. The product relaunched under a new entity, mine. Investors followed, the engineers followed, even the clients followed. And him? He was left with nothing but his arrogance. No empire, no applause, just silence. I didn't raise my voice once. I didn't threaten, didn't plead. I simply waited, then moved when it mattered. Justice, I learned, doesn't need fire or fury. Sometimes it only needs patience sharp enough to cut. So yes, he gave me 1 minute to clean up. But in that 1 minute, I left him the mess of his own making, and I walked away with everything. Betrayal taught me control. Revenge taught me precision. And silence taught me power. Because the loudest sound in that room wasn't his laughter. It was the silence that followed when he realized he had already lost.